The Private Label University, the only show that dares to unlock the secrets to your online selling success so you can start making money and living your dreams.
I wanna be a billionaire so freaking bad.
With over 35 years of sourcing, private labeling, and importing product for the big chain stores and coaching thousands of entrepreneurs, all while building their personal businesses. Let's welcome our Private Label University hosts, the fabulous, lovable, and cutest dynamic duo, Karen and Neil Gwartzman.
Welcome to the Private Label University. We are your hosts, Karen and Neil Gwartzman. Before we start any of our shows, we always love to talk about an amazing Amazon find. So this week, what did we find?
Well, this week we found something really special. And as many of you know, we have two 150-pound plus St. Bernards. And they love to eat.
Love to eat.
So being absolutely in love with our pets, we only feed them, of course, the finest and best food. And if Karen is not actually cooking for them, she is searching for human-grade dog food. So today, we want to highlight some special dog food.
So which dog food did we purchase from Amazon?
On Amazon, we purchased a brand called Against the Grain. It's grain-free food. And this one actually, it looks so good that I think even when I was putting it into a bowl, my kids were like, wow, we can't wait to have dinner tonight. It says slow-simmered, grain-free, pulled beef with gravy. Dinner for dogs.
And it's made in the USA.
Made in the USA. And honestly, when you open this up, it is absolutely delicious looking.
It is. And Mozart, our big saint,
He's very picky.
Very, very picky. I think he thinks when I make his food, he'll come over, he has to sniff it first, like as if I'm poisoning him or something. He doesn't even sniff this. He hears the opening of the can and boom, he is over there gobbling everything up like there's no tomorrow. So
they also have one called pulled chicken with gravy, which also, I'm telling you, it looks like restaurant-ready food. Absolutely, the dogs love it. It's very healthy. It had amazing reviews, and when you look at the ingredients again have all good quality products inside.
Natural,
and again,
real food.
Real
it's
food,
human
grain-free, and again, made in the USA. So very proud. My dogs love it, and we make sure they're eating healthy. So a great find. And of course, where do we buy it? On
Amazon. And I'm just actually looking at it here. It says kosher for Passover. It does. You see that? That is so funny. Anyway, it's a great, great product. It's human grade. Bought it on Amazon, and I would definitely buy it again. So they were very happy about that.
So if you have Jewish dogs, I guess you can.
It's kosher for Passover.
You can feed them this,
or you could be eating it maybe on Passover. So today we're going to talk about what your Chinese suppliers expect from you. Now, most of the time we talk about what you want to get out of the business relationship with your supplier, but it's important to discuss what they are expecting from you. So this way you both have the expectations. You're both understanding what your expectations are, so it makes for better business relationships and a stronger one as well.
Exactly. You really want to have that relationship. And I've been doing business in Asia for over 30 years, and I actually have friendships and relationships that I've built up for companies that I've been doing business now for 30 years. And that's really, really important because, all these companies are doing, they're involved with some type of category, let's say. So if they're in the automotive business, and one particular company was in the industrial equipment business. And again, we've had a relationship now for over 30 years, and he's branched into other divisions. So he's gone to automotive, he's gone into heavy equipment. And as he evolves, of course, I have the benefit of evolving as well. If I see there's an industry that I can work with and supply, I have the advantage because I have such a strong bond and relationship that now I'm learning of what he has the ability to do, and I can introduce that to our clients and our students. So it's really important when you're doing business anywhere really, but especially overseas with that distance that you're at, to keep that relationship going all the time.
Mm-hmm. It definitely is. Actually, this is a good place to take a quick break. We are going to be right back. We are the Private Label University.
Are you ready to kick that sugar addiction, reduce belly fat, and still enjoy delicious sweets and breads? Yes, it is possible. Recipe for Wellness is a company that is run by Karen Russell, a world-renowned certified health coach and nutritionist with over 20 years of experience working with the most challenging health issue facing our society. Karen has figured out the secret to a healthier life for all of us without sacrificing sweets, and offers very yummy products like cookies, brownies, and breads that are actually healthy for you. That's right, cookies and bread that are not only delicious, but healthy too. If you're ready to lose weight, increase your energy levels, sleep soundly, reduce stress, take control of your health, and not have to give up sweets or bread, then visit recipeforwellness.com. That's recipe, the number 4, wellness.com. Again, to shop online for delicious and healthy sweets, visit recipeforwellness.com. Start living your healthier life without guilt today.
So welcome back from the break. We are Karen and Neil Gortzman. We are the Private Label University. So let's jump in and go over a few important things that suppliers are looking for from their buyer. So the number one thing is trust and honesty.
That's right. Trust and honesty are really important when you're building up a relationship, especially, again, with companies overseas. And whether it be anywhere in Asia, or even South America, Europe, but especially in Asia, where there's a different etiquette and a different way of doing business, trust and honesty are really, really important. And I remember years ago, it's actually been almost 20 years now, I've been doing business with Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen runs a very, it's a small factory, but very consistent. He works with some national suppliers in the US and Europe. He also works with many other manufacturers who are making items, of course, I'm going to say that go into companies like Home Depot and Lowe's. So a lot of the industrial and home decor companies. And I've had an amazing relationship with him. I've actually been with when the birth of his son. He's invited me to be there. I've seen his son grow up and enter the business. And I think with that relationship, also came many benefits, because we've kept in contact. As his company has grown, he's also been able to, for example, purchase a lot more modern equipment and some equipment that is state-of-the-art when it comes to manufacturing the products that he produces. And so I've had the ability, when I go to China, of course, every time I'm there, I'm usually spending some quality time with Mr. Chen and his family, whether it be at his home, having dinner with his parents and his family, and then, of course, talking business, being at the factory and learning about the equipment that he has. And he's very open to me because we have that trust and that he's very honest of how he does business, and he appreciates my input. So when he asks me questions, I'm getting involved with this type of company, what do you think? Or I've been approached by a major retailer in the US market or the European market. Do you feel I should get involved with them? What do you think of that company? So it makes me feel very, very proud, because I have that relationship and I have that trust. And that trust and honesty, of course, will evolve for both of our benefits, because I give him feedback that helps his company, as well as he introduces me to new products and new ideas and development of the products that he's either getting involved with or thinking of getting involved with. So with anyone who's in business, keeping that trust and honesty between you is very important. Again, especially people in China, it's important to have that bond where they know you're going to be a trustworthy customer or supplier, and someone to work with. Very important.
And how do you build this? I mean, this is a hard thing, because a lot of people don't go to China to, source and import their products directly from China. They don't go there and build these relationships. It's done online, and that's really, really hard to build trust and honesty. So don't you agree, Neil, that, the online building of trust and honesty is something that takes a really, really long time?
It does. And, it's that communication. It's important to have that communication. Again, when you're working with companies who are, across the other part of the world, there's a time barrier. There's a communication barrier.
And that actually takes us to the second point that we have, looking for what the suppliers are looking from you. They're looking at, that communication. And like you said, it's difficult to have a strong communication, especially at the beginning, because it takes so long to build it up when you're, working on sites and sourcing and importing on sites like Alibaba compared to doing it live at the factory in China or even at the Canton Fair. It's live.
Yeah, when you're dealing with companies on Alibaba and AliExpress, there's no personal interaction. It's just, you're contacting another company. It could be the same as sending a fax or a letter. And going to China or doing business in China, again, whether you're at the Canton Fair or visiting a factory, that communication, that close personal communication is very important. And, again, because they're in China, there's such a distance. You want to make sure you're being clear of what you're talking about, negotiating, and clear and concise when there's, if there's a problem that arises. You want to make sure that, again, the communication is positive between you, so both of you understand what you're developing, or again, the problem to solve a problem. So, I visit China so many times a year, and for me that was important over the past 30, 35 years because I was always building that relationship and making sure that that communication was there. And of course, the great thing is when I started, it was either sending a letter or when they introduced faxes and fax machines, or making a phone call. Now, of course, you have phones and computers and emails and Skype and FaceTime and all these things that allow you that personal introduction that I never had. I had to get on a plane. So if I was doing business, if I had to sign a contract, I had to be in Japan. I would get on a plane and go to Japan to meet with that company to sign that contract. So that's where it's made it a lot easier now with the modern, evolution of computers and technology.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. It's pretty amazing because I remember you would always have to be flying out somewhere. And it's great that you don't necessarily always have to do that, but it is at the beginning and at least once a year. Going out and showing that, that communication is there. You're building that trust. You're building those relationships. You're building that, commitment, which takes us into the third point, long-term commitment. That's what they're looking for.
And this is, it's similar to a relationship, that long-term commitment. When a company overseas, when they want that commitment and to continue doing business with them, they want to see that you really are serious about it. And I remember years ago, I was doing business, and I still am today, doing business with a lot of companies in Japan, but one particular company, a lot of different opportunities opened up with long-term commitments. And, especially in the Japanese market. Japanese companies are very conservative. They're not as liberal as other Asian companies. So with that conservatism, and it's almost like that wall they have of making sure they know who you are, making sure they know how you do business, that you follow their rules. And in Japan, of course, they have very strict rules of doing business and a strict etiquette way of doing business. And they want to make sure that you understand that way of doing business for that long-term commitment. They want to make sure that you understand that they have a specific way of doing business and that you're okay with it. Because if you're not going to follow their way, then a lot of times they don't want to do business. And so you kind of destroy that relationship that you're going to build. So for me, it was very important learning the different types of culture, whether it be in Korea or Japan or China or South America and even different parts of Europe, that's the way, the old saying, when in Rome. And so you have to do business, of course, the way that they do business in these countries. And again, it's only to help benefit your long-term commitment with doing business with these companies that are overseas.
Mm-hmm. And we hear a lot like, oh, I don't know if I can trust, these countries overseas or these companies overseas. And they feel the same way about the U.S. market too. They see the U.S. market as being fickle. They may only order once and then move on to a new company. Or, they may only order a small amount and not large quantities, and then, you might find a new company. So they are really, really looking for people to do business with that are going to give them that long-term commitment.
And they are more nervous. I think typically the European market tends to be a little more loyal. Not to say that in North America they're disloyal, but I think a lot of times in North America, companies are, looking to do business here and then gone tomorrow. Or what they'll do is they'll start a little bit of business, and then if they find it for a few cents less someplace else, they're going to jump to the other company. And again, when you're in some countries, they don't appreciate that. If that's their price and they feel they're offering the best quality and the best service, then that's the price. They don't like to be badgered with negotiating or even bargaining with the price, because that's the price they set. Now, it's not that way in all Asian countries. In some areas, they do like that bargaining process, that negotiating process that may take a few extra days. But again, it's the idea that that you have to have that trust and that honesty and that commitment that's all involved with doing business, especially with a company that's far away, that's overseas.
And that takes us to really everything that you just talked about. The next step, the next thing, the fourth thing is relationships.
Yeah, 35 years I've been building relationships internationally with businesses that not just I import from, but also companies that I supply to. And I'm always continuously building on that. And that's, of course, why I go to the Canton Fair twice a year. That's why I go to other fairs during the year. And, of course, I also make time to travel to different countries to meet with factories. Now, of course, these days I don't have to travel to each factory as much because Skype and FaceTime and computers and phone calls, even more the remote areas in China that I used to visit that did not have internet, and they even had weak phone lines. And sometimes I know there was one factory in particular who he'd actually have to travel into town to make the phone call. So he'd set aside between 4 and 6 p.m. that he would reach me. And I had to make sure I'm in my office so he could talk to me, because just the access to the telecom system wasn't convenient for him. But for me, it was necessary, and I knew it was almost like a rewarding feeling, knowing that he was getting on his motorcycle, he was going into town, he was calling me, and we were conducting business. And again, it's been now 30 years. We're still doing business. Of course, now he has a computer, and he has a phone, and he has everything else, all the computer systems. But the idea is building that relationship was very important for me, and of course, it was very important for him. And I'm honored now that he probably does about $150 million a year in exports, and he's one of the leading enterprises in his field. And he started from just working in a factory and building his way up, but having a relationship with me, and I introduced him to other factories that I knew in Germany and in the UK who had the equipment to help build his business.
And that's really what it is. It's about relationships, opening opportunities for both sides.
That's right. Yeah, and it's that, what's that term I'm looking for, Karen? It's
give and take?
No, you really want to work with a company where it's going to be that it's almost homogenous. You're working as one, even though you're two separate companies and across the globe, but you really are working as one, and to help benefit each other and help grow each other's company. And again, people in the physical product industry, they need to grow, they need to evolve, they need to learn more of what's going on with other factories and with other companies, especially if you're doing business in China.
And those make for the best relationships. The next thing is they are looking for ideas and creativity to help them grow as well as you grow.
And it's actually the word I was thinking of was reciprocal. It's a reciprocal thing. There's always opportunities that are opening up, and companies that are overseas. So if you have specific creative ideas, and when your creative juices flow, and you're coming with all kinds of ideas and different designs for a product, or different changes, or different improvements, the same thing occurs in factories overseas. So when you're building a relationship, they're also having creative ideas and having their creative juices flow, and they're coming up with new ideas and developing new things, and you actually can grow with that. So you actually learn from each other, and that's the important thing, because in the other side of the world, whether it be in South America or Asia, they have different ideas, and sometimes they'll come up with ideas that maybe is not typical of the Western way, but it helps improve what you're doing, whether it be in packaging or labeling or production time. And, because their workforce is larger, they'll open up ideas that you may never have thought of. And, as much as I like to consider myself sometimes an expert in packaging and labeling, I always look to them as well for their expertise, because they have sometimes larger teams than I do in different parts of development and R&D, and I love to, again, with that relationship, we help each other. Mm-hmm. So it is reciprocal, and it can be, again, a huge benefit to your company as you build this relationship with companies overseas.
And also another thing is they're looking to grow into these new markets. Both of you are looking to make money and be successful, and this is a great opportunity for you as well, as they introduce you to new products into a market that may not have even hit the market yet.
Yeah, you always want to think, and again, we talk about many of our courses, keep on sourcing, source, and source some more. And as my dad always said, that you want to always be sourcing for products. And so when you're looking to grow into new markets, again, the opportunity is there. If these companies are exposed into other markets, that they're exposing themselves into the European market, or in the South American market, or the Middle Eastern market, whatever market they're servicing, a lot of times they'll share that information. They'll say to you, hey, we're working with a company in Germany who's having us produce something this way. Is that something that could work for you in North America? And again, a lot of times these ideas that are in Europe are not open to other areas, but now you're actually having the ability of learning from them and learning on their expertise to help increase your productivity and, again, increase your markets.
Which is great. Now, suppliers, keep in mind, will work with you at different levels depending if you're a manufacturer or if you're a retailer or a distributor. Is this correct?
That's right. Suppliers will look at you many different ways, and especially suppliers in China. We talk about companies that are only online sellers, and you never want to minimize who you are and what you do. However, again, there's that trust and honesty. So if you are just an online seller, the way you approach companies, whether it be at the Canton Fair or when we meet with them, you don't want to lie, but if you're a national distributor or a national retailer, of course, you're going to tell them who you are, and they're going to observe you or possibly approach you in a different way because, let's say, you're a big player. So if you happen to be a major purchasing agent for Walmart and you meet with a company in Asia, they may say, wow, you're from Walmart.
So would you say they get special treatment?
Well, it's not that you get special treatment, company? But they'll, of course, with anyone, if I'm a manufacturer and I have a buyer from Walmart approach me, personally, I'm not going to treat him any different from any other retailer or any other size company, because to me, they're still a company. And when you do business with customers, I always believe that everyone should be treated fairly and equally. But then again, sometimes in China, you don't know what level of management you're meeting. So if you're meeting someone who's of lower management, but they're a sales rep at a company, they're going to get all excited. If you say you're from Walmart or Home Depot or Carrefour or Lidl, they're going to get all excited and maybe want to take you out for dinner, or
But I think
maybe
right.
want to offer different, price levels. We'll give you the lowest price. Now, of course, you may not know what that price is.
But I do think they do treat you a little differently, because if they know that your quantities are going to be so much bigger, then I think they offer you bigger things.
Right, because there's an opportunity for them to do much larger business. So if you walked and said, oh, I have one store, I'm located in this part of the USA, and I only, again, depending on how you present yourself, even if you do a great business, you're doing, 10, 20 million, 100 million a year, but you say, oh, I just have one store, but we're very successful, as opposed to, well, I represent Walmart or I represent Carrefour, they're going to say, wow, what can we do to gain your business? Mm-hmm. And so then again, you don't ever really know that price. And that's another thing that we'll talk about in one of our other shows. But pricing may change because you're a big player and they want to make sure that they're going to get your business, even if they have to work on a much smaller margin.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So, let's go over everything we just talked about. We talked about relationships, how important it is to build a relationship. And with that relationship, having trust and honesty with your supplier and with the manufacturer. We talk about that communication, making sure you keep that communication up. Even if you stop doing business with that one company, making sure that communication continues as your company grows. Also, that long-term commitment. When you're talking to companies, it's not in it for a one-time purchase. You want to convey that you're in this business or in your business for a long-term commitment, and that you're going to talk to them and whatever business you decide to go into or they're into, that you continue that, again, that long-term commitment there, that relationship with that company. And again, keeping up with looking for new ideas and asking companies what they're involved with. So you're sharing your ideas, you're sharing your expertise, as well as you hope they will share theirs, and typically they will, especially with companies overseas. And of course, looking to grow into new markets. We're always expanding. If you're in the computer business and you're strictly building computers, maybe you decide to get into the printer business, and now you're, something that complements your computers, you have printers. Or if you're in the motorcycle industry, and now it's strictly engine parts, but you happen to get into tires, and so the more companies you meet. So you're always keeping yourself open to new markets with the category or physical product that you're involved with.
So before we sum up today and we finish up our show today, we have some questions that were emailed in. So let's jump into some question time.
It's question time with your dynamic duo hosts, Karen and Neil Gortzman. What's your billion-dollar question?
So our first question is it true that companies from China can ship right to Amazon?
That is true. The new information is that a lot of companies in China are setting up not just Amazon companies in China, but they're setting up Amazon companies in USA. And they've learned the ins and outs of actually taking their products, having them labeled for FBA and shipping them directly into Amazon warehouses in the USA and Canada.
So isn't that competition then? My supplier could then be shipping right to Amazon the same products.
That is correct. That's why, again, you sometimes have to be careful when working with some companies and actually find out if they're doing this. And again, it builds up talking about trust and honesty to make sure that you're not in competition with your supplier. But, it's just opened the doors because it's such a huge marketplace in Asia, and especially in China, that whether it be small companies or big companies, they see the opportunity. Of course, Amazon promotes of what they do in China. And with the warehouses that they're setting up, they're in promotion for doing work over there.
Wow, that's pretty scary, I guess you would say. You just want to make sure that you trust your supplier and that they're not doing that.
Well, it's competition. You have to be aware with whether you're, being aware of your competitors in the USA and Europe, but being aware of competition that will grow. And as more marketplaces open, many more online platforms for selling products online open up, that anyone in the physical product industry or manufacturing or importing must be aware that companies in China and other parts of Asia will have the ability to sell directly into the U.S. markets.
So another question we got is it true that U.S. Customs is watching Amazon sellers' importing habits?
They are. So Customs has now actually taken a huge change, I'm going to call it, where they had gone through, in the past 10 years, they had implemented a lot of new changes within U.S. Customs and Homeland Security. And within that, they actually set up different departments and hoped to automate a lot of what they were doing so they wouldn't have to do direct, paperwork or almost as per clearance. So they had a lot of automation that they actually had planned on at every port and in different departments. And now, because there's so much more importing and exporting, but a lot of importing going on due to all the online selling, whether it be with Amazon and eBay and Rakuten and Newegg and Jet, and the list goes on, where companies are shipping more and more products, especially small shipments. So even if it's not containers and you're getting a lot of the air shipments, they're inundated with so many more entries that they're saying, hey, where are all these entries going? Are they going to legitimate companies? Are they going to a one-time importer? Are they going to people who are actually selling a product? So Customs has now taken a full 360 and said, hey, there's probably opportunity here, and there's also a lot of revenue that we're missing out on. We're going to now start implementing new agencies, and not just in all the ports, but in a lot of the major cities, to watch what's happening, and especially with Amazon sellers.
Wow, so that's going to affect everyone.
Everyone. It's going to affect everyone, of course, not just with Amazon, but any online or person in the physical product industry, but especially if they keep a keener eye on items that are being shipped to Amazon warehouses, anything for FBA.
Mm-hmm. And especially, as we talked about before, that $800 duty-free thing.
Well, the value of bringing in a shipment that's anything that's 800 and lower, that it's kind of under the radar and duty free, and it really isn't duty free, but not considered it's as a formal entry for U.S. Customs.
Right, but they're going to be watching. So if you bring in a shipment and it's $750, and then your next part of the shipment a week later is $600, and then a week later is $500, they're watching that.
Right. There's a red flag that's going to go up, and they're going to say, hey, this company's bringing in so many shipments, many smaller shipments, but just under the value. We want to see what they're importing, and there could, again, a red flag can go up, and they could start inspecting all your shipments, which will, of course, in turn cause delays. And then, of course, if you're falsifying any information, that's definitely one thing that U.S. Customs and Homeland Security frowns upon.
And then they go back to see how long this has been going on.
Yeah, they have actually the ability to go back up to 10 years. Typically, they can go back as 6 years to see when your business started and to see if you had that habit of doing that on your, import history.
And the fines are pretty hefty.
That is correct. And we're definitely, our company, the Private Label University, is part of the Federal Import Trade Compliance Agency Department. And so we see a lot and learn a lot. We're told about new departments that are being set up and new agencies that are being set up. So we're definitely a place that has all this information sent to us on a regular basis, actually on a daily basis.
So the next question is actually a question we get quite often. What is the fastest air shipping company?
Well, with my history of importing, I actually found that typically FedEx seems to be the fastest. I've actually had shipments delivered within 24 hours by air and worked out some what they call great rates with FedEx, where I'll get priority service at economy pricing and within 24 hours. And, depending on the time of week or the time of the month, that seems to be a slower time. I'm always calling FedEx, of course, as well as UPS and DHL for the best rates. But I found the quickest service and dependable with, if they say they're going to arrive by before 10 a.m. on a Tuesday morning and I've ordered it a Monday morning, it pretty well arrives. Of course, there could be sometimes a delay due to some type of security inspection or customs, but typically I have all the documentation, all the paperwork prepared in advance from the supplier, as well as prepared for customs when it enters. So I've had a lot of shipments arrive within 24 hours. So I found FedEx seems to be the fastest.
So all great questions, great questions. So we're out of time today, but we want to thank you all for joining us. Be sure to subscribe, and this way you don't miss out on any of our updates and training. And we'd love to hear from you. So please visit us over at www.privatelabeluniversity.com and leave us a message, and we will personally send you a video to answer your questions. And don't forget to sign up while you're over there for our 5-day boot camp to private labeling. It's absolutely free. So until next time, we are Karen and Neil Gortzman, signing off.
I wanna be a billionaire so freaking bad.
Thank you for joining Karen and Neil Gortzman at the Private Label University, the only show that dares to unlock the secrets to your online selling success so you can start making money and living your dreams. Remember to visit us over at www.privatelabeluniversity.com for tons of free content. While you're there, leave us a message and we'll air your comments and questions on the show. Listen to us every Sunday at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. The dynamic duo, Karen and Neil, are now signing off.